Lu Zhou attempted to search for information regarding Yu Zhenghai from his memories. He was also trying to remember anything about the other tribes when he visited Rongxi in the past. No matter how he looked at it, his longevity and the 9-leaf stage were related to his 9 disciples. In the beginning, there were many things that Lu Zhou could not remember. His attempts to kill his disciples, the heavenly writing scrolls, attempting the 9-leaf stage. He thought they were mere coincidences. In hindsight, he could see now that they were more than coincidences. GT Andao clearly sealed his memories about the 9-leaf stage and his longevity in the crystal. Why would he do that? Ming Shi Yin could tell that his master was lost in thought, so he did not dare to disturb his master. He looked at Si Wuya and Zhu Honggong meaningfully before he said, "I'll take my leave now, master." Zhu Honggong and Si Wuya had no choice but to cup their fists and said in unison, "I'll take my leave, master." The 3 of them exited the room respectfully. Even after the 3 disciples left, Lu Zhou was still lost in his thoughts. When the 3 disciples stepped out, little Yuanair leaped down from the beam. She giggled before she said, "Hello, senior brothers. Hello, little junior sister." Ming Shi Yin looked at Si Wuya and said, "Old 7th, you'd do well not to flaunt your shallow intelligence and petty schemes before master. I can help you this once, but I can't help you forever." Si Wuya asked, somewhat ungratefully, "That's your way of helping me? I thought you pride yourself on being smart. Master has already attained the 9-leaf stage. Why would he care about eldest senior brother? You're dreaming if you think he cares." Ming Shi Yin said mockingly. Ming Shi Yin did not give Si Wuya a chance to speak as he continued to say, "That's enough. Master may be easily convinced, but that doesn't mean that I'm convinced. Great Yan's imperial family has challenged the evil Sky Pavilion numerous times. Do you think master isn't annoyed? If eldest senior brother wishes to fight the imperial family, it's just as well. He'll be doing the evil Sky Pavilion a favor. I believe that master won't trouble eldest senior brother for some time." Si Wuya nodded when he heard Ming Shi Yin's words. The atmosphere was too heavy back then, and it had clouded his thoughts. Now that he heard Ming Shi Yin's words, he knew Ming Shi Yin was right. Therefore, he cupped his fists and said, "Thank you, 4th senior brother." "You're welcome," Ming Shi Yin said. As soon as Ming Shi Yin finished speaking, 2 wails rang from the middle of the mountain. "Ow, easy. The evil Sky Pavilion isn't a place where you can act as you please. You wretched old lady, you'll regret this." The cries sounded wretched. Ming Shi Yin shook his head and said, "What do we do now? She has forced her way in." Si Wuya said, "Leave this to me." He turned around and walked down the mountain. Little Yuanair, Zhu Honggong, and Ming Shi Yin followed him. From above, an old woman could be seen supporting herself using a cane as she casually made her way up the steps. Meanwhile, Pan Zheng and Zhou Jifeng, with their swollen and bruised faces, kept retreating. Si Wuya frowned slightly. He remembered Ming Shi Yin's words earlier and asked, "This is the Confucian sect elite. Zhao Yushu, that's her." Ming Shi Yin spread his hands in a show of helplessness. This old woman came all the way here using the side path. She should have gone to the nearby town and asked around. You should be cautious. She doesn't believe in the existence of a 9-leaf cultivator. Si Wuya initially intended to intimidate the old woman by mentioning a 9-leaf cultivator. Who knew he would run into an eccentric and stubborn old woman? Zhao Yushu spent most of her days deep in the valley. She barely interacted with people. When she decided to leave the valley, it was only natural for her to avoid the crowded places. She would never deign to ask the townspeople about the 9-leaf cultivator. Shortly after, 2 more cries resonated in the air. Then, Pan Zheng and Zhou Jifeng ran up to Si Wuya. Mr. 7th, quick, stop her." Although Si Wuya seemed slightly worse for wear with his dark circles and sickly, exhausted appearance, when he straightened his back and his composure returned to him, he looked somewhat dependable. Thud, thud, thud. The old woman with a stooped posture, Zhao Yushu, finally arrived at the top of the stairs. She looked at the people in front of her before her eyes finally landed on Ming Shi Yin, whom she was familiar with. She said, "We meet again, young man." "Hello, old senior," Ming Shi Yin said unnaturally. He thought old people's visions and memories would worsen. And yet, she remembered him. Si Wuya said, "Hello, Senior Zhao. And who are you?" "The Evil Sky Pavilion's 7th disciple. Si Wuya." Si Wuya answered honestly. Zhao Yushu chuckled and said, "I've overestimated his standards. An invalid, an airhead, a fatso, and a dimwit who wanders around. I see he's not picky about the disciples he accepts." Zhu Honggong and little Yuan were baffled. What's with her, and what's with the sudden insult? Si Wuya did not seem to take offense. He said, "You wish to meet our master, Senior Zhao." Zhao Yushu pointed at Ming Shi Yin with her walking stick. "Didn't he tell you the reason I'm here?" Ming Shi Yin said, "Senior, you know the reason behind Feng Qing's death. Why must you do this?" Upon hearing this, Si Wuya could guess what this was about. He said with a smile, "You intend to avenge Feng Qing. Senior Zhao, all I want is an explanation. I've promised Feng Qing that I'll kill anyone who wanders into the valley without holding back. I spared this young man here on account of your master, but he should give me a proper explanation. Don't you think so?" Zhao Yushu said. Si Wuya nodded. "Why don't I give you an explanation? You?" A contemptuous and disapproving expression appeared on Zhao Yushu's face. She was clearly irritated by Si Wuya's casual attitude. Si Wuya did not seem intimidated. He said indifferently, "Feng Qing, the master of the Zhenqing branch, colluded with the 6 great sects and secretly incited the 10 elders of the Yun sect to launch a coordinated attack on the Evil Sky Pavilion. Are you satisfied with this explanation, Senior Zhao?" Zhao Yushu furrowed her brows slightly. She studied Si Wuya for a moment before she knocked her walking stick on the ground. Bam! Web-like cracks spread across the limestone floor. The cracks lit up. Script seals. Ming Shi Yin took 2 steps backward. These runes were the same as the ones inscribed on the plum blossom stumps. Everyone, apart from Si Wuya, retreated. You intend on bullying your juniors. Senior. The glow from the cracks dimmed. Zhao Yushu said, "I have nothing to say to you. Tell your master to come out." "My master is unwell. We'd appreciate your understanding," Si Wuya said. "I don't think you're giving me enough respect." No. Si Wuya waved his hand and said, "That's the truth." Zhao Yushu's expression stiffened. She raised her walking stick. Script seals appeared on her walking stick as well. "Young man, since your master didn't properly educate you in manners, I'll discipline you on his behalf." Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The script seals shot out from the walking stick and sailed towards Si Wuya. Si Wuya reached behind him and grabbed Zhu Honggong. Zhu Honggong, who was suddenly and unceremoniously used as a shield, yelped. Bam, bam, bam. The script seals landed on Zhu Honggong's chest. He rubbed his chest and said in an aggrieved tone, "Ow, 7th senior brother, what are you doing?" Zhao Yushu looked at Zhu Honggong in shock and she exclaimed in shock, "You're unharmed." Si Wuya only said, "The Confucian sect's expansive heavenly energy is powerful indeed." Zhao Yushu could sense the sarcasm in Si Wuya's words. She tightened her grip on the walking stick with her wrinkled hand. Bam! She pounded the stick on the limestone floor again as the primal chi around her surged. Script seals appeared and spun within 10 meters of her. The others retreated. Si Wuya was about to say something when a deep voice reached them from afar. Enough! Everyone looked toward the source of the voice. A refined and calm Lu Zhou dressed in long robes appeared before everyone's sight. "Greetings, Master! Greetings, Pavilion Master!" Zhao Yushu looked up and saw the old man who was slowly making his way toward them. Apart from shock, a hint of reverence and fear could be seen in the depths of her eyes as well. Lu Zhou walked over with his hands on his back. He descended the stairs and stepped on the limestone plaza. He walked past the cracks on the floor. The others instinctively parted to the sides to make way for him. Zhao Yushu loosened her grip, and the walking stick fell away from her. As a result, the script seals faded away immediately. She curtsied before saying, "At last, we meet again." Lu Zhou's expression was as indifferent as usual. When he saw Zhao Yushu's stooping figure, he could not help but sigh inwardly. Some things remained the same, but the people had changed. Time had not been kind to her. So many years had passed in just a blink of an eye. The Confucian sect elite who was once a mighty, rare stone-cold fox in the cultivation world was now a gray-haired old woman. I see that your temper remains unchanged even after all these years. Sorry to disappoint you. Lu Zhou swept his gaze across his disciples and said, Well, greet Senior Zhao. The other bowed and saluted Zhao Yushu. Zhao Yushu waved her hand and said, There's no need. She looked at Lu Zhou and said, Although I'm from the Confucian sect that's bogged down by rules and protocols, I've never cared much for them. Lu Zhou nodded. One doesn't visit a temple without a cause. What brings you here to my place? I'm here to ask for an explanation regarding Feng Qing'er. An explanation? Feng Qing'er was the master of the Zhenqing branch. All these years that I've been living in the valley, the Zhenqing branch has looked after me. Now that something has happened to Feng Qing'er, I can hardly stand aside and do nothing. Zhao Yushu said. Lu Zhou did not reply immediately. Instead, he walked toward higher grounds nearby. Zhao Yushu understood Lu Zhou's meaning. She followed him and stood next to him as they looked down at the foot of Golden Court Mountain. Lu Zhou pointed at the foot of the mountain and said, There lies the corpses of those from the 7 great sects. Zhao Yushu was shocked. When she had passed by earlier, she merely felt the ground was uneven and there were many signs of a battle. Not a blade of grass could be seen at all. Feng Qing'er should have been among them. Lu Zhou said coldly. Zhao Yushu asked in disbelief. So it's true that the 7 great sects attacked Golden Court Mountain? Lu Zhou sighed and said, You've been staying in the valley for a long time and are oblivious about the affairs of the outside world. Is it possible that during your journey here you didn't speak to anyone about this? Well, she truly did not speak to anyone. Otherwise, she would not have arrived here travel-weary and insulting everyone due to her crabby mood. She had roots in the Confucian sect, and reason was held in the highest regard. If reason was on her side, she would travel the world without fear. If it was not, she could hardly take a single step forward. Lu Zhou rendered Zhuo Yushu speechless in just a blink of an eye. It was just as Mingshi Yin had said. It was Feng Qing'er who attacked Golden Court Mountain. In that case, the one who should be demanding an explanation should be the evil Sky Pavilion. Not her. Lu Zhou's disciples nodded, impressed by their master. The same words, coming from a different person, would have a starkly different effect. Mingshi Yin asked furtively, Did you notice that Senior Zhao seems humble in front of master? Yes, little Yuaner replied. This just shows how awesome our master is. Zhu Honggong said, quote. Flattery is second nature to this dimwit. Zhao Yushu was not bothered by the junior's discussion. Instead, she asked in confusion, I remember your great limit is close at hand. I didn't expect you to be as spry and majestic as before. How did you defeat your enemies? Brother Ji, under normal circumstances, it would have been impossible to win against the 7 great sects. It was clear Zhao Yushu remained doubtful about what she had been told. Lu Zhou did not withhold any information from her as he calmly said, To tell you the truth, I'm now at the 9-leaf stage. Zhao Yushu's aged eyes widened. The wrinkles on her face twitched as well. Her facial expression changed drastically before it settled on one of disbelief. It was an entertaining sight to watch. I'll never believe you, you wretched old man. She looked at Lu Zhou and said, Brother Ji, do you think that I'm gullible? Lu Zhou did not care if she believed him or not. He glanced at her and said, If it weren't for old time's sake, the damage you caused to the limestone floor alone would have been enough to earn yourself a death sentence. Quote. Although Lu Zhou's tone was indifferent, it sent shivers running up everyone's spines. They felt cold as though the temperature in the surroundings had drastically dropped. Zhao Yushu's old body shivered despite herself. Even a proud daughter of the heavens such as herself would have to lower her pride before Ji Tiandao. She bowed before she asked, Did Feng Qing'er die in vain? Then, at this moment, a figure appeared nearby. With a cold voice, he said, He deserves to die. The others looked at the newcomer. It was Leng Luo, who was wearing his silver mask as usual. Speaker. He looked at the stooping Zhao Yushu with his hands on his back. It's you, Zhao Yushu exclaimed in shock. Leng Luo was not one to care about etiquette. He said, Zhao Yushu, your only accomplishment is that you rose to fame at a young age. You aren't fit to do as you please at the evil Sky Pavilion yet. This statement was valid. Zhao Yushu merely became famous when she was young. In terms of age, she was younger than Leng Luo. let alone GT Andao. Leng Luo had every right to criticize her. Zhao Yushu said, Leng Luo, I'm not afraid of you. What about me? Two other figures emerged as well at this moment. Hua Wudao pushed a crude wooden wheelchair as he slowly walked to the others. Zhao Yushu turned to look. Her wrinkled hands were clearly shaking. Pan Lishan broke out in laughter as he said, I didn't expect anyone to recognize me. You're the greatest elite of the Clarity sect. Of course, I'd recognize you, since you're aware of that. What gives you the courage to wreak havoc here? Although Pan Lishan was seated on the wooden wheelchair, it did not impede him from looking at his surroundings. The limestone floor was cracked. How dare she cause trouble here? She must have a death wish. Greetings, Pavilion Master. Pan Lishan cupped his fists toward Lu Zhou. Hua Wudao bowed as well. Greetings, Pavilion Master. Although Zhao Yushu did not recognize Hua Wudao, with a glance, she could tell he was not a simple cultivator as well. She did not expect there to be so many elites in the Evil Sky Pavilion. Zhu Honggong laughed and said, You look formidable, old seniors. Ming Shi Yin was speechless. This dimwit is a professional in flattery and courting disaster. I should keep my distance. This is a sickness. It might be contagious. Zhu Honggong noticed that he had misspoken as well. Was he not indirectly slighting his master? He quickly slapped himself and said, I've made a mistake. Zhao Yushu frowned slightly. She was finding it more and more difficult to understand how these third-rate youngsters ended up becoming GT Andao's disciples. They're not qualified. A female disciple walked slowly toward him from afar. She bowed at Lu Zhou and said, The flying chariot is ready. Pavilion Master. Where are you going? Master, Ming Shi Yin asked, puzzled. Zhao Yushu. Lu Zhou looked at her. What is it, Brother Ji? Zhao Yushu asked, perplexed. Since you're here, why don't we go together? Lu Zhou turned around and left. Zhao Yushu found this strange. She did not know where he was going. However, she did not dwell on it and followed after him. Ming Shi Yin said, Old 8th, take Old 7th back to the Cave of Reflection. What do you mean by, You have no business here. You're thinking of tagging along. Fat chance. Si Wuya was not interested in this to begin with. He turned around and returned to the Cave of Reflection. Hua Wudao pushed the wooden wheelchair into Pan Zheng's hands. Then, he boarded the flying chariot with Leng Luo. Pan Lishan needed to recuperate. There was no need for him to come along. When they were on the flying chariot, Ming Shi Yin volunteered. I'll man the helm. Where are we headed, Master? Little Yuanair asked. The Luo sect. Zhao Yushu was puzzled. She said, the Luo sect is one of the sects founded by Yun Tianlo. What business do you have there? Brother Ji, someone I know is passing away. I'd like to say my final goodbye, Lu Zhou said as he stroked his beard. Zhao Yushu was stunned by his words. Hua Wudao sighed heavily. Ming Shi Yin initially thought his master was going to give the Luo sect trouble. After all, the Yun sect's 10 elders were among the forces of the 8 great sects. He did not expect him to be merely visiting Yun Tianlo. Everyone could see how the relationship between Yun Tianlo and the Evil Sky Pavilion was. Yun Tianlo was even willing to surrender the memories sealed within the chessboard to the Evil Sky Pavilion. He would never order the 10 elders of the Yun sect to attack the Evil Sky Pavilion. There must be more than meets the eye here. However, Zhao Yushu said, that young man, Ming Shi Yin, told me the Yun sect's 10 elders were also involved in the attack on Golden Court Mountain. Aren't you walking right into their trap by going there now? Walking right into their trap? The 3 sects own 10 holy lands and 20 peaks which form formations that overlapped with each other. It's also defended by many elites. The Evil Sky Pavilion is from the Fiend Path. Aren't you worried that something might happen to us if we go there now? Whiz. When primal chi was channeled into the helm, the cloud-splitting chariot buzzed to life and rose into the air. Nobody entertained Zhao Yushu. Zhao Yushu felt awkward. With her identity and status, she would have been greatly respected in any other sect. However, in the Evil Sky Pavilion, she was more of a passerby compared to an actual passerby. It was one thing for GT Andao to ignore her. What gave these 2 minor disciples the gall to look at her disdainfully from the corners of their eyes? As irritated as she was, As a senior who was quite advanced in age and an old friend of GT Andao, she could not possibly hold this against the juniors. The flying chariot climbed into the air and exited Golden Court Mountain's barrier as it flew toward the southern regions of Great Yan. Shortly after the flying chariot left, a green-robed swordsman could be seen casually making his way to the foot of Golden Court Mountain. It did not take long before he arrived at the foot of the mountain. He stood there and looked up at Golden Court Mountain's barrier. Then, he looked at the sun and wiped the sweat from his face. Supposedly, an elite with his cultivation base should not be sweating at all. However, he enjoyed this trivial sensation very much now that he had regained his life. This was the only time when he felt that he was truly alive. Second senior brother, someone called out to him softly from the forest at the side. Yu Shangrong turned around in confusion before he saw a white-clad Yi Tiangson emerging from behind a huge tree. Sixth junior sister, second senior brother, I knew you'd come back alive, Yi Tiangson said. Thank you for your concern. Junior sister, I'm lucky, that's all. Yu Shangrong smiled faintly. You could have worked on your timing. Though, master left in the morning. I don't know where he went. Ever since Lu Zhou wiped out the 7 great sects, Yi Tiangson intended to visit her master on the mountain. However, when she thought about the fact that she was no longer a disciple of the evil Sky Pavilion, she could not find the courage to climb the mountain. Why aren't you going up? Yu Shangrong asked. It's fine. Yu Shangrong knew what was going through Yi Tiangxin's mind. Do you plan on staying here forever? Yi Tiangxin replied. I want to bid farewell before I head west. Cheng Huang, MHM. It's a good thing to have a goal. I wish you a smooth journey. Junior sister, Yu Shangrong cupped his fists at her. Then, he turned around and went up Golden Court Mountain. As she looked at Yu Shangrong's retreating back, Yi Tiangxin felt slightly stunned. She felt that something was strange, but she could not quite put her fingers on it. She sighed. You're so cold, second senior brother. You didn't even try to persuade me to stay. The cloud-splitting chariot was speeding toward the southern regions of Great Yan. It left a tail in its wake like a meteor. Lu Zhou stood near Mingxi Yin and looked at the mountains and the land. Zhao Yushu stood beside him and said, I have a question. Let's hear it. I've made some calculations. Your great limit. Before Zhao Yushu could finish speaking, Mingxi Yin suddenly launched into a coughing fit. Zhao Yushu looked at Mingxi Yin in confusion. Mingxi Yin turned to look at her with a smile and said, Senior Zhao, my master is already at the 9-leaf stage. It's only natural for my master's life to be prolonged. Can't you see that my master looks younger than before? Leng Luo and Hua Wudao looked at Lu Zhou. Now that they studied Lu Zhou's appearance, they were shocked. Indeed, he seemed younger than before. Leng Luo was still all right. Most of his hair was black. However, Hua Wudao's silver mane stood out now. Zhao Yushu made the comparison quietly. Her heart shuddered. Is he truly at the 9-leaf stage now? If he's truly at the 9-leaf stage, why isn't he summoning his avatar to dispel all doubts? In the Luo sect's holy land, Heaven's Virtue, the 20 peaks stood in a unique arrangement as the clouds swirled around them. The layers of barriers formed the foundation of this location's defense. At this moment, the Luo sect's youngest elder, the third elder, Lu Ping, paced about with a long face. He said as he looked at the other elders, Second elder, what do we do now? The patriarch's great limit is near. Yet, the Yun sect just had to join in the attack against the evil Sky Pavilion. Even the combined strength of all the elites from the 3 sects is no match against a 9-leaf cultivator. Before this, these other elders had frowned upon Lu Ping for being a lackey of the evil Sky Pavilion. However, they kept quiet now, having no words to retort. This was especially true for Shan Yunzheng, the second elder. In the end, Shan Yunzheng said, Now's not the time for this. We should quickly think of a plan. If the evil Sky Pavilion comes, the 3 sects will have to face the consequences. The way I see it, we should join hands with the Tian sect and exclude the Yun sect. This is the only way we can preserve our lives. One of the elders said. Whiz, whiz, whiz. A strange sound rang from beyond the barrier. Looking up from Heaven's Virtue, ripples could be seen spreading across the huge barrier. The elders were shocked. Enemies incoming. Lu Ping squinted as he looked up. He started when he registered what he was seeing. His eyes were wide as he cried out, "It's the evil Sky Pavilion's flying chariot." The others were frightened by his words. Some of them stumbled backward. Some of their knees weakened. Some even fell to the ground and sat there limply. The nine-leaf cultivator was here to seek revenge. Somebody help! The inevitable was finally here. With a grim expression, Lu Ping said, "Stay calm. The Yun sect's mistake has nothing to do with the Luo or Qian sects." The others nodded and felt much calmer. Lu Ping stepped into the air and summoned his avatar. He passed through the barriers at lightning speed as he flew to meet the cloud-splitting chariot. A moment later, Lu Ping hovered in midair and said in a clear voice, "Greeting, old senior G. Forgive me for the lack of hospitality." The flying chariot paused mid-flight. Ming Shi Yin had the best view. He saw Lu Ping hovering before the chariot. Hence, he beckoned him over. "Come here, you man the helm." Gladly, Lu Ping was overjoyed. At the very least, this meant the evil Sky Pavilion was not here to seek revenge on the Luo sect. He flew over to the flying chariot. Seeing this, Zhao Yushu said, "As expected of the three sects, they're well educated and have good manners." She was slightly dissatisfied and disgruntled when she recalled the treatment she received from the evil Sky Pavilion. After Lu Ping boarded the flying chariot, he looked at Lu Zhou and fell to his knees with a dull thud. He kowtowed and a loud thud rang in the air. He said, "I'm greatly honored to be able to personally man the helm for you." Old senior. Zhao Yushu was puzzled. She felt a stinging sensation on her face as though she had been slapped. Was this the pride of the three sects? That's enough. Come on. Ming Shi Yin gave Lu Ping a kick. Yes, right away. I've benefited much from this kick. Mr. Fourth, I shouldn't have wasted the old senior's time on such trivialities. Ming Shi Yin was speechless. FCK, is he old eighth's relative or something? Lu Ping hastily switched positions with Ming Shi Yin and manned the helm. The flying chariot passed through the barriers and landed on Heaven's Virtue with familiar movements. Zhao Yushu was surprised to see the elders and disciples of Luo sect gathered on the Holy Land. When Feng Yizhi, the sect master of the Luo sect, heard about this, he had sped all the way here without even tidying his hair. Leading the 10 elders, he bowed at the flying chariot. Feng Yizhi, the sect master of the Luo sect master, greets the old senior. Greetings, old senior. More and more disciples were flocking to the Holy Land at this moment and greeted the party from the evil Sky Pavilion. Upon seeing this, Ming Shi Yin was filled with pride. He enjoyed this feeling very much. He could resist lifting his chin up and straightening his back even more. Leng Luo and Hua Wudao did not seem to be affected by this. However, they were filled with praise. There were no rules or reasons in the world. Reason was on the side with the bigger fist. Zhao Yushu remained on the flying chariot. Stunned, she had experienced many things and was knowledgeable. Even saints of the Confucian sects were rarely given this treatment. Master, look, there's so many of them. Little Yuanair was not affected by the welcoming party. She merely liked a lively scene. Throngs of cultivators swarming toward the Holy Land in big groups. The square formations formed a huge energy zone that was approaching the Heaven's Virtue. The cloud-splitting chariot stopped moving. If the elites of the three sects were to launch an attack on the evil Sky Pavilion within the barrier at this moment, the consequences would be unimaginable. The noble and fiend paths had never seen eye to eye. Although the three sects were different from the 10 great sects, they were one of the most powerful among the noble paths factions in Great Yan. They had 20 peaks and 10 holy lands. Their disciples numbered in tens of thousands. In terms of barriers, the barriers of the three sects' 10 holy lands were one of the best in the cultivation world. They could be used to attack and defend. Zhao Yushu looked at the Luo sect cultivators on Heaven's Virtue. For an instant, she had complicated feelings. Many cultivators hovered above Heaven's Virtue. Whiz! At this moment, a 90-foot avatar flew toward him from afar. It unleashed its grand technique and soon arrived above Heaven's Virtue from its original position at one of the peaks. Everyone turned to look at the newcomer. Nan Gongwei, the sect master of Qian sect, welcomes the old senior. Several thousand Qian sect disciples bowed in midair. Welcome, old senior. This scene was really extravagant. Anyone else would have been moved. During the Evil Sky Pavilion's previous visit, none of these sect masters had shown up. However, at this time, did they dare to not show up? Ming Shi Yin had the urge to beat himself to death. He was too excited about this. Kindness was always returned tenfold. Lu Zhou pushed away from the flying chariot and flew out. The others leaped after him. There was no ostentatious show of power as the three sects' disciples expected. However, they held their breaths. They did not dare to breathe heavily as they looked at the old man in front of them. Rise! Lu Zhou's voice resounded across Heaven's Virtue. Everyone else sighed in relief. They descended. Although the Heaven's Virtue was vast, the center of the Holy Land was currently occupied by a lot of people. Nan Gongwei, the sect master of the Qian sect, stood in the lead. At this moment, Feng Yizhi, the sect master of the Luo sect, descended as well. Nan Gongwei and Feng Yizhi bowed in unison. What brings you here, senior? Nan Gongwei asked respectfully. Lu Zhou's eyes shifted to Nan Gongwei. Where is the Yun sect's Yun Wuji? As expected, Nan Gongwei and Feng Yizhi were clearly in a dilemma. The others exchanged glances and began discussing among themselves in a hushed tone. Nan Gongwei's expression was slightly sour as he said, Old senior, the Qian sect was completely unaware of the Yun sect's plan. I only found about the Yun sect's participation in the siege after it happened. The Luo sect had no knowledge of it as well. The Yun sect is too unbecoming. We will certainly give the Evil Sky Pavilion a satisfactory explanation in regard to this. It was nothing new for the three sects to disagree among themselves. The current situation was also within expectations. From the moment the Yun sect caused trouble, the signs of discord had already shown themselves. And how do you plan on doing that? Lu Zhou asked Nan Gongwei and Feng Yizhi in a deep voice. Well, Nan Gongwei and Feng Yizhi were both sect masters. Both of them had remarkable statuses in the three sects. Their words certainly bore significance. Finally, the Luo sect's Feng Yizhi bowed and said, Just say the word, old senior, we'll give you the explanation that you want. Zhao Yushu was shocked to hear this. To think the three sects were pandering to the Evil Sky Pavilion. At this moment, a disciple flew toward them in great haste. He looked terrified and his face was drenched in sweat. When he descended, he tripped out of nervousness and fell face forward on the ground. When he picked himself up, he stuttered, S sect masters. This is be bad. Nan Gongwei's expression darkened. He said, being flustered is unbecoming of a disciple. What is it? The disciple pointed toward the Holy Land where the Yun sect was located and said, The sect master of Yun sect master wants to. He's going to commit suicide. There was a collective gasp from the crowd. The disciples of the Qian and Luo sects looked toward Yun sect. The people from the Evil Sky Pavilion were the only ones who remained unruffled. Lu Zhou's expression was indifferent as usual, as though none of this mattered to him. Zhao Yushu, on the other hand, was even more shocked. The expression on her wizened face changed. After all, this meant the Yun sect truly did attack the Evil Sky Pavilion. Did this mean the sect master of the Yun sect was unable to withstand the pressure of the consequences of his actions? At this moment, an avatar appeared between the two peaks flanking the Yun sect's Holy Land. The avatar had an impressive height of 90 feet. It glimmered with golden radiance and its palms were joined together. A figure could be seen hovering within the avatar. It was none other than Yun Wuji, the sect master of the Yun sect. A sound wave rolled toward Heaven's Virtue. Yun Wuji has done wrong against the patriarch. Yun Wuji knows that he has committed a grave sin that can only be atoned by death. There were no attacks, only Yun Wuji's voice. His words were filled with reluctance and helplessness. Several thousand disciples of the three sects looked at the avatar. Their goal was to obtain an avatar like that. There were many cultivators who spent their whole lives cultivating without obtaining an avatar with the height of 90 feet. Yun Wuji had reached where he was today due to his hard work. Everyone knew Yun Wuji was a man who struck like lightning and moved like the wind. He was a rare cultivation genius in the cultivation world. He climbed all the way from the bottom of the rank to the highest peak in Yun sect. He was the only one who knew how much effort he had poured in and how many trials he had to overcome before reaching the peak. Unfortunately, The final step had the difference between heaven and earth. Nan Gongwei and Feng Yizhi, the sect masters of the Qian sect and the Luo sect respectively, looked at the avatar expressionlessly. Their hearts were as indifferent as their expressions. Nobody responded to Yun Wuji. After a brief moment of silence, Yun Wuji laughed forlornly. Was I truly wrong? Was I wrong? Soundwave rolled out again as he spoke. The 90-foot avatar moved swiftly and hovered 100 meters in front of everyone. Yun Wuji was feeling the pressure from maintaining his avatar for such a long time since it consumed much of his power. However, this was no longer important. At this distance, he saw the evil Sky Pavilion's master on Heaven's Virtue, the one and only legendary cultivator to reach the 9-leaf stage in Great Yan's cultivation world. Although he no longer cared about his life or death and was prepared to atone for his crime with his life, his heart still raced when he saw the pavilion master. Yun Wuji looked at Lu Zhou, who was standing in the Holy Land. His hair was disheveled, and his voice broke as he said, clearly distressed, "Old Senior Ji. Was I wrong?" The others found it difficult to tell if Yun Wuji was going to laugh or cry. Before Lu Zhou could respond, Nan Gongwei said in a deep voice, "Yun Wuji, you're being irrational." "I am not. I need answers. What have I done that is not for the Yun sect's sake?" Nan Gongwei, Feng Yizhi, "It is beneath me to be at the same rank as both of you." Yun Wuji spat. At this moment, Ming Shi Yin projected his voice said mockingly, "Not only are you wrong, but you've made a grave mistake." Yun Wuji's gaze shifted from Lu Zhou onto Ming Shi Yin. "For someone like you, you're not even worthy for my master to take action. How dare you go on and act so righteous? Hurry up and die." Ming Shi Yin had seen his fair share of cultivators from the noble path like Yun Wuji. They always brag about how everything they had done was for the good of their sects. However, the truth was they would conduct shameful activities in the dark. Nevertheless, it did not stop them from singing their own praises and act righteous, trying to project a good image of themselves. Yun Wuji felt his chest tighten. He had no choice. When Ming Shi Yin saw Yun Wuji's blank expression, he said, "What are you waiting for? The disciples of the 3 sects are waiting for you to kill yourself. Hurry up and die." Ming Shi Yin seemed to be acting out of character. He was clearly more emotional compared to how he usually was. "Aren't you doing this for the Yun sect? If you don't die, the entire Yun sect will have to die with you." Yun Wuji's loss of his rational mind was merely his final struggle after he decided to die. In truth, since the day it was reported that the combined efforts of the 7 great sects and the 10 elders have failed, he knew his fate was sealed. The several thousand disciples from the 10 holy lands and the core elites surrounded the Yun sect. The people of the Qian and Luo sects were not fools. Having offended a 9-leaf cultivator, they would never let the main culprit off lightly. Nan Gongwei and Feng Yizhi had given the Yun sect many troubles. The conflict between the 3 sects had reached its breaking point. Yun Wuji was now a sinner of the 3 sects. Not only would he suffer a gruesome end, but he would also be cursed at for the next 1,000 years. How could he be willing to accept this? He hesitated as he looked at Ming Shi Yin, who was clearly provoking him. His 90-feet avatar wavered slightly. It was incredibly taxing to maintain the 100 Tribulations Insight avatar for a long time. He knew he had no choice. Otherwise, the Yun sect would have to pay for it. In the end, he looked at Ming Shi Yin and said, "Very well, die over there." Ming Shi Yin said irritably, None of the disciples of the 3 sects dared to interrupt. Nobody spoke on Yun Wuji's behalf. An aggrieved expression appeared on Yun Wuji's face as though he had been wronged. When saw the apathetic expressions on everyone's faces, he suddenly felt that, perhaps, he had made a huge mistake. The more he thought about it, the more aggravated he became. Why must I share the benefits with everyone if I succeed? But now that I failed, I have to shoulder the blame on my own. The thoughts of men were often as fickle. It could change at a moment's notice. Yun Wuji suddenly retreated further and further away. Kill myself for these people? No, it's not worth it. The disciples on Heaven's Virtue stared at Yun Wuji while the Yun sect disciples paid extra attention to him. Yun Wuji continued to retreat until he was between several barriers. Whiz! Yun Wuji's avatar shrunk. The barriers resonated loudly, creating ripples on the surfaces. In just a blink of an eye, Yun Wuji shot out of the barriers. Ming Shi Yin widened his eyes. Hey! He ran away. The disciples of the three sects were dumbstruck. They looked at the fleeing Yun Wuji, completely frozen like a wooden chicken. They had difficulty believing what they were seeing. Just a moment ago, Yun Wuji was still questioning them in a forceful and righteous manner. But now, he was running away. The barriers buzzed. Yun Wuji flew further and further away. He had been maintaining his avatar for a long time. With his grand technique, he passed through 3 barriers in just a blink of an eye. Master, I'll chase after him. And Ming Shi Yin said before he stopped abruptly. He saw Lu Zhou was already knocking an energy arrow. Bam! The arrow was fired. Nobody noticed this since their attention was on Yun Wuji. For a brief moment, they had completely forgotten about the greatest elite in the world. Zhao Yushu's attention was caught by the sound of the arrow being fired. When she turned around, she saw the arrow sailing through the air. The shot was neat and simple. Everyone widened their eyes when they finally saw the energy arrow passing through the barriers. Its speed exceeded their expectations. When Yun Wuji was the size of a fist in their eyes. The energy arrow landed true. No sound could be heard. After a slight delay, they heard the loud bang. The sound wave spread out in the horizons. All they saw was Yun Wuji suddenly coming to a halt in midair. The energy arrow had pierced his back. Yun Wuji widened his eyes as he lowered his head to look at the energy arrow that pierced through his back to his chest. How? Impossible. A 9-leaf. Gee godly. Archer. Yun Wuji was a 7-leaf elite. After all, when he was fatally hit, he managed to maintain his altitude. However, this merely lasted for a short while. Shortly after, his primal qi leaked into the surroundings from his Danshan sea of qi. Yet, the energy arrow did not fade away, stubbornly lodged in his body. Eventually, he could no longer maintain his altitude and plunged to the ground into the forest below. Vanishing from everyone's sight. Ding! Killed a target. Reward. 1.500 merit points. Silence descended on Heaven's Virtue. When Yun Wuji fell, the others were still in a daze. Their eyes were brimming with awe. This included Zhao Yushu, the Tiandao she knew did not have such great mastery of the bow. How did he easily shoot a 7-leaf elite from this distance? Who else could have achieved this? If not a 9-leaf cultivator. The people of the Evil Sky Pavilion felt relieved. This was not their first time witnessing Lu Zhou taking out a 7-leaf cultivator in a flash. At first, they were awed by his might. In hindsight, they felt there was nothing to be surprised about. After all, what was so surprising about a 9-leaf cultivator easily killing a 7-leaf cultivator? Lu Zhou did not think much about this. When he recalled Unnamed, he gauged the heavenly writing's extraordinary power. He was left with half of the power. He had used much more power than necessary just to be safe. If it had been a shorter distance, with Unnamed, he would only need to use 1/3 of his extraordinary power to kill Yun Wuji. He would never allow Yun Wuji to escape from under his nose. Ming Shi Yin made a spitting noise and broke the silence first. It would have been better if he had just killed himself. At least, he would be able to retain what little is left of his dignity. Little Yuanair chimed in. That's right, running away like that. He's more shameless than 4th senior brother. Quote. Lu Zhou glanced at Ming Shi Yin. His expression remained unchanged as he said apathetically, if he wishes to die, I'll fulfill his wish. The Holy Land was quiet once again. Lu Zhou looked at everyone and asked in a calm tone and a moderate volume. Who else has anything to say? However, his words were very domineering. After a moment's silence, Nan Gongwei, the sect master of the Qian sect master, bowed and said, we have nothing to say about this. He deserves to die. Yes, he deserves to die. Feng Yizhi chimed in. When the two of them bowed, they gulped and wiped the cold sweat off their faces. As the saying went, boil the hound once it caught the rabbit. Hide the bow once the fowls were killed. Nobody sympathized with Yun Wuji. He did not deserve any sympathy. After all, at this moment, the stone door at the secluded cultivation spot in Heaven's Virtue slowly opened. Yun Tianlo was brought out in a wheelchair. He seemed dispirited, his gaze was lifeless, and his aura was weak. Patriarch. Greetings, Patriarch. The disciples of the three sects bowed. Nan Gongwei and Feng Yizhi looked over as well. The crowd parted. Yun Tianlo seemed as though he was going to breathe his last breath at any given moment as he sat on the wooden chair. He struggled to look up. His gaze was despondent as he looked at Lu Zhou. He managed a faint smile as he said, "I knew, that you'd come." Lu Zhou stepped forward with his hands on his back. The others backed away from the center of the Holy Land. Lu Zhou stood before Yun Tianlo. With a casual glance, he understood the situation immediately. He asked, "Your great limit is already here. And yet, you're still holding on." He could sense that Yun Tianlo was only left with his final breath. When he said this, Nan Gongwei, Feng Yizhi, and the disciples of the three sects were in turmoil. Yun Tianlo, however, did not seem to mind as he said, "You can tell, Brother Ji." After a violent coughing fit, he continued to say, "I have some regrets. That's why I don't want to leave yet." Lu Zhou shook his head and said, "Stubborn. Yes, I am." Yun Tianlo nodded. "You could have lived for a decade more." "Who hurt you?" Lu Zhou asked. As the saying went, a single pebble gave rise to 1,000 waves. This was the effect of Lu Zhou's words. Nan Gongwei and Feng Yizhi looked shocked. They fell to their knees and kowtowed in unison. "Patriarch, which bastard is so bold as to attack you? Why didn't you tell us? How dare he harm our patriarch? I vow to tear him to shreds." Yun Tianlo waved his hand and said, "There's no need." The two of them were puzzled. Yun Tianlo said, "Didn't Yun Wuji get what he deserved? It was Yun Wuji. That scoundrel deceived his master and denounced his predecessors. That's how low he had stooped." Men. Several elders nearby stepped forward. "Your orders. Find Yun Wuji's corpse. Let it lie under the hot sun for 3 days before tearing it to pieces." Nan Gongwei said, "Understood." The elders rose into the air and flew toward the forests. The disciples who heard this shuddered. The Qian sect's master was rather vicious once he steeled his heart. The Yun sect disciples pulled long faces. They were still feeling uneasy. With the death of their sect master, the conflicts between the three sects had completely escalated. What followed would certainly be vicious cycles of vengeance. At this moment, Yun Tianlo said tonelessly, "Those who have no business here should leave. Get lost," Nan Gongwei said at once. The disciples of the three sects instantly scattered. Only the core members of the three sects were left. Several hundred cultivators, who were mostly elders or greater, remained on the Holy Land. Lu Zhou stroked his beard and said, "Do you know why I'm here?" Yun Tianlo said, "Oh, perhaps. My sentiments are reciprocated. I thought you're suddenly inspired by kindness, Brother Ji, and came to help me resolve my regret." "That's not completely untrue. What are your regrets?" Lu Zhou asked, although his attainment of the 9-leaf stage had practically nothing to do with Yun Tianlo. He could not think of an excuse. Moreover, he did not wish to explain himself. Yun Tianlo sighed deeply and said, "I've studied the 9-leaf stage for many years and longed to pass through those doors. Alas, I've known nothing but failure and am now in this state. I've brought this upon myself. I'm sure of that. Over the past century, there's only one thing that I've done right." With a deeper tone, he said, "And that's entrusting the thing inside the chessboard to you, Brother Ji." Lu Zhou's expression remained unchanged. But inwardly, he complained, "That's too much. You old thing. Do you truly think that my attainment of the 9-leaf stage has anything to do with your stupid chessboard? All my life, the only thing I wanted is to have a peek into the 9-leaf stage. That's my greatest regret, Brother Ji. If you can help me resolve this regret, even in death, I'll remember your kindness. Otherwise, I won't be able to rest in peace." Quote. The words were truly burdensome. At this moment, Zhao Yushu spoke up. "Yun Tianlo, you've grown sentimental since our last meeting years ago." Yun Tianlo was stunned. He turned to look at Zhao Yushu. "Who are you?" "I'm Zhao Yushu." Upon hearing this, Yun Tianlo widened his eyes. An image of a peerless beauty with fair skin, charming curves, and a moving smile from 500 years ago surfaced in his mind. For a time, he had difficulties reconciling the image in his mind to the old woman in front of him. "Miss Zhao, it's you." Ming Shi Yin, who was standing at the side, made a vomiting gesture. However, nobody paid any attention to him. Zhao Yushu frowned slightly. You'd better change that form of address. I'm worried that I won't be able to sleep soundly at night. Yun Tianlo looked awkward. Zhao Yushu was once a popular candidate for marriage proposals. However, the Zhao Yushu back then had an unyielding temperament like a man. She pursued the Confucian path wholeheartedly and had no interests in romantic affairs at all. 500 years have passed. Blue seas had turned into mulberry fields. Her appearance aged. Time changed, but not the memories of the past. How do you want me to resolve your regret? Lu Zhou asked. I'm not asking for much. All I want is to see what the nine-leaf stage is like. Yun Tianlo said. Upon hearing this, many of the people present had an eager and expectant expression on their faces. Zhao Yushu was the same. More than anyone else, she wanted to see a nine-leaf avatar. Ming Shi Yin, Leng Luo, Hua Wudao, and little Yuanair wanted to see the nine-leaf avatar again as well. Seeing it once was not enough for them. Lu Zhou cursed inwardly. You're lucky I have the disguise cards right now. Otherwise, you won't be able to die in peace. You old thing. Outwardly, he said. Very well. Lu Zhou raised a hand and activated his Danshan Sea of Qi. A disguise card appeared in his palm. Then, he shattered it. A surge of unique power gathered inside his Danshan Sea of Qi, and his avatar appeared. Whiz! There was a strong resonance of power that resounded across heaven's virtue. The core disciples of the three sects widened their eyes. They looked at the 150-foot avatar. Because they were too close, they had to crane their necks to have a look. Even then, they could not see the top of the avatar. Soon after, they lowered their gazes to the huge golden lotus that was shining brilliantly. 9 lush leaves were slowly spinning around the golden lotus. Everyone felt their breaths caught in their throats. This was a 9-leaf golden lotus avatar. An actual 9-leaf golden lotus avatar. Their bodies trembled in excitement, and they were overwhelmed by emotions. This was the goal that many dreamt about. This was an avatar that many wanted to possess. Its radiance and every blade of leaf were ostentatious and dazzling. Also, how could it be so huge? Zhao Yushu staggered backward, completely in awe of the 9-leaf avatar. If Zhao Yushu had any doubts and questions before this, they had completely been dispelled by the 9-leaf avatar. In truth, she was already convinced by Lu Zhou when she stepped onto the flying chariot. The attitude of the disciples from the 3 sects had confirmed the fact that the 7 great sects had attacked Golden Court Mountain. However, when she saw the 9-leaf golden lotus with her own eyes, she was still amazed. The disciples of the 3 sects stared at the golden lotus with its 9 leaves. Before this, the nascent divinity tribulation realm cultivators were hesitating and wondering if they should try severing the golden lotuses. If they acted fast enough, they would be ahead of their peers. Nonetheless, faced with uncertainties, the danger was much greater as well. Leaves can be formed after severing the golden lotus. The golden lotus can be formed again as well. So that's what a 9-leaf golden lotus looks like. How did the evil Sky Pavilion achieve this so soon? The others haven't even started severing the golden lotuses yet. They could hardly remain calm. This was the equivalent to finding out that a player had already cleared all the stages before the game went into beta testing. Everyone, naturally, had a tough time coming to terms with it. 10 quiet seconds passed by in just a blink of an eye. It was too short a time for the people present to admire the unique avatar. They felt as though they were looking at the finest sculpture in the world. Before they could have their fill looking at it, it had disappeared. After the avatar vanished, Lu Zhou stood with his hands on his back and looked at Yun Tianlo, who was sitting in the wooden chair. Yun Tianlo's exhaustion seemed to have vanished. He looked spry at this moment, and his eyes were brimming with excitement. Even his wizened face was flushed with a healthy color. It seemed like he had regressed 10 years younger just from looking at the 9-leaf avatar. After a long moment of silence, Lu Zhou finally said, "What do you think?" Lu Zhou's words pulled everyone back to their senses. Yun Tianlo said, "It's worth it. Truly. If I can see it once more, I'll be able to die in peace." Yun Tianlo praised, "This old thing, give him an inch, and he asks for a foot. I'm already doing you a great service by showing it to you once. Do you think that merit points fall from the skies? Despite Lu Zhou's inner thoughts, he stroked his beard and said with a neutral expression, "Don't be greedy." Yun Tianlo sighed. He raised his hands slightly and said, "In any case, thank you, Brother Ji. Don't mention it. May I ask you something? It's about the method to attain the 9-leaf stage." Yun Tianlo was about to return to dust anyway. With one leg in the coffin, he only wanted this information for his disciples. Therefore, he mustered his courage to ask this question. After all, if he did not ask, nobody would dare to ask this question. Upon hearing Yun Tianlo's question, an eager and excited expression appeared on Nan Gongwei and Feng Yiji's faces. Similarly, the core disciples of the 3 sects looked at Lu Zhou expectantly as well. Lu Zhou stroked his beard and nodded. The method of severing the golden lotus is not a lie. Upon hearing this, the others grew emotional. As expected, the method is real. However, the mortality rate of severing one's golden lotus was too high. Due to this, many were discouraged and did not dare to try it. However, as more and more people experimented, the survival rates rose as well. Apart from without the golden lotus, sprouting leaves might be a problem. Moreover, they did not know if they could form another golden lotus as well. However, with Lu Zhou's affirmation, it had given him a boost of courage. Apart from that, Lu Zhou seemed to have set a new standard in the cultivation world. Who would be willing to share their method of reaching the 9-leaf stage with others? Ordinary individuals would not be so magnanimous to do such a thing. Nan Gongwei, Feng Yiji, Yun Tianlo said in a deep voice. Yes, both of them responded in unison. Why aren't you thanking the senior? Upon hearing Yun Tianlo's words, Nan Gongwei and Feng Yiji realized their transgression in the midst of their excitement. Nan Gongwei did not bow at once. Instead, he took a few steps backward, circulated his primal qi, and projected his voice so it resounded through the 10 holy lands. Thank you, old senior Ji. Feng Yiji did the same. The disciples of the 3 sects who left Heaven's Virtue were not too far away. When they heard their sect master's words, they knew what it meant. They hovered around the 20 peaks, formed several square formations, and followed their sect master's cue in thanking Lu Zhou. Thank you, old senior Ji. The sound waves overlapped as everyone expressed their gratitude to Lu Zhou. Upon seeing this, Ming Shi Yin felt pride swell in his chest. Ding! Worshipped by 3.500 individuals and 1.500 pious individuals. Reward: 18.500 merit points. Note: deliberate and contrived worshipping will not be rewarded. When Lu Zhou heard this notification, he was initially surprised. Then, he made some quick calculations in his heart. There were many disciples in the 3 sects. However, those who could freely enter and leave the Holy Land merely numbered around 5.000. This meant the ratio of those who were piously worshipping him was even lower. Although this was a quicker way of earning merit points, there was still the risk of having his merit points deducted if he was not careful about the way he went about things. He would be in great trouble if that were to happen. The negative 100.000 merit points he received when he had just transmigrated here was still fresh in his mind. At this moment, Yun Tianlo said, "What do you plan to do now that you've attained the 9-leaf stage?" "Brother Ji, move on to the 10-leaf stage. Of course." Lu Zhou replied casually. Yun Tianlo seemed to have remembered something. He said, "Brother Ji, have you really come to?" "That's right. There are 2 reasons why I came to see you. Indeed, I wanted to pay you a final visit before your passing. Nobody in this world can escape from that shackle. Your passing will mean that I've lost yet another acquaintance." The others sighed in despair upon hearing these words. Although their expressions were appropriate, it felt insincere. Yun Tianlo was unlike the disciples of the 3 sects. He said in a deep voice, "Hearing your words, I feel that my time in this world has been worthwhile." Ming Shi Yin wanted to make a vomiting gesture again, but he resisted that urge when he saw Yun Tianlo's changes. Yun Tianlo's breathing had become shallow, and he was losing vitality. "There's no need to tell me the second reason. Brother Ji. I know it." "Ha, you finally believe me, Brother Ji." Yun Tianlo remembered something in the past. "Yes, it's been 300 years. If she didn't leave behind that cultivation method, I wouldn't have been able to conquer the 3 sects. The world thinks that I'm some genius. But I'm only an average man, Yoon Tianlo said as he shook his head before laughing in a self-deprecating manner. The others were shocked and perplexed when they heard Yoon Tianlo's words. Who was the she that Yoon Tianlo mentioned? What was their patriarch hiding? Did someone support the three sects until it reached its height today? This was the main reason Lu Zhou came to Heaven's Virtue today. Back then, Yoon Tianlo's cultivation talent was nothing out of the ordinary, but he suddenly improved by leaps and bounds. He and Ji Tiandao were old acquaintances. Although the paths they took were different, there was no conflict of interest. The world wanted to know why Yoon Tianlo's cultivation base improved drastically. Yoon Tianlo said that he met an elite who told him the 8-leaf stage was not the end. The 9-leaf and 10-leaf stages were attainable. However, nobody believed him then. They took him as a joke. Lu Zhou nodded, stroked his beard, and said, "Back then, I thought you were bluffing. Time will tell. The 9-leaf stage is the greatest proof." Yoon Tianlo seemed content and triumphant. When he recalled everything that he had done, he felt no remorse. When he saw the hard truth of the cultivation world crumble with his own eyes, he felt that he had lived a good life. Yoon Tianlo's thoughts wandered back to 300 years ago. Unfortunately, things have changed, and the people were long gone. She left the cultivation method behind. And you cultivated it. Your cultivation base improved greatly. And you became the chief of the three sects. Back then, nobody would have thought this was possible. Lu Zhou said. Yes. Yoon Tianlo nodded in agreement. What's her name? Lu Zhou asked. Yoon Tianlo looked remorseful. He shook his head and said, a person like her can hardly be tracked down. I don't know her name. Perhaps, she has already attained the 10-leaf stage a long time ago and is now living in seclusion. 10-leaf stage. The others were thoroughly shocked and frightened when they heard this. The 9-leaf stage was enough to cause one to feel amazed. To think that there was someone at the 10-leaf stage. Was their patriarch spouting nonsense before his death? That's what I gather from her words. I don't know if she's actually at the 10-leaf stage. Perhaps not. Yoon Tianlo seemed tired and launched into a coughing fit after he spoke. What does she look like? She's young, Yoon Tianlo answered weakly. At this moment, Zhao Yushu, who stood beside Lu Zhou, shook her head and said, I'm afraid she must be a bag of old bones now. Like me. Yoon Tianlo glanced at Zhao Yushu. He managed a chuckle but did not say anything. Ming Shi Yin said, no matter how old she is, she helped senior Yoon rise to prominence from the dust. There's no doubt she's extraordinary. This was the truth. Zhao Yushu could not refute these words. She had always prided herself on being a genius. From the moment she stepped into the Confucian sect, the Confucian sect disciples called her a rare cultivation genius who would only show up once every few hundred years. Unfortunately, she was born female. If she was allowed to climb her way up to the highest position in the Confucian sect back then, perhaps she could also peek into the world of the 9-leaf stage. Perhaps she could be a 9-leaf cultivator now. Or perhaps she could have died trying. In any case, there was no point dwelling on it. Humans were faced with countless choices in life. No matter which path they chose, they would still wonder about the path not taken. Regrets could never change the outcome. They could only briefly entertain their fantasies. At this moment, everyone wondered who was the person who helped Yoon Tianlo defy his fate. Where did she come from? Yoon Tianlo was old. His mind was not as keen as before. He found it difficult to recall many things. Disordered fragments filled his mind. His mind seemed like the vast ocean while the scenes were like schools of fish swimming in it. They went about in no particular order. He wanted to catch the fish he needed the most but was powerless to do so. His consciousness was slipping away. Patriarch. When Nan Gongwei and Feng Yizhi saw Yoon Tianlo looking lifeless, they cried out in unison, appearing worried. Nan Gongwei stood up at once. He directed a palm at Yoon Tianlo and channeled primal qi into him. A surge of intense primal qi was continuously channeled into Yoon Tianlo's body. Perhaps Nan Gongwei's effort worked. Yoon Tianlo opened his eyes again, and a thought flashed in his mind. Ha, her surname's Luo. 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 What? The others were puzzled. Was there a cultivating genius or sect in Great Yan with the surname Luo? Lu Zhou stroked his beard as he contemplated this. He suddenly remembered what Si Wuya said. If heaven and earth formed the cage, and the golden lotus was the lock, who was the entity pulling the strings behind the scenes? He felt shocked when this thought appeared in his mind. He shook his head, dismissing it. It was impossible. Humans were humans. Who could turn heaven and earth into a cage? What was the answer? What's her name? Lu Zhou asked again. Perhaps he would get an answer once he found this person. I can't remember. The core disciples gathered around them on heaven's virtue. Some of them were tearing up. Sobs grew louder and louder. Some of them fell to their knees. Leng Luo and Hua Wudao shook their heads. Hua Wudao cupped his fists and bowed at Lu Zhou. Lu Zhou knew what he meant. He waved his sleeve lightly. Like some on the Holy Land, Hua Wudao fell to his knees. After all, he had been in this sect before. Brother Ji, do you think that we'll meet again in death? Yun Tianlo raised his hand as though he saw something and was reaching out to grasp it. Alas, his big wizened hand was only grasping at air. He did not stop his movement even as it grew slower and slower before he finally stiffened and stopped moving. His arm remained raised. The light in his eyes was snuffed out and turned lifeless. Patriarch, a voice laden with grief resounded across heaven's virtue. The barriers of the 10 holy lands lit up at this moment. The thousands of disciples of the 3 sects who could fly approached the barriers and channeled their primal chi into them. The tidal wave of primal chi illuminated the dozens of barriers. On heaven's virtue, the top of the cultivation tower dimmed. The life of a legend of the times had run its course. Lu Zhou raised his hand. A surge of energy lifted Yun Tianlo up. Feng Yizhi was still in pain. He was shocked when he saw this. He was about to stand up when Nan Gongwei pressed on his shoulder. The other disciples looked up. Lu Zhou stepped into the air. He brought Yun Tianlo up into the air above heaven's virtue. He pushed with his palm. To gain the power of immaterial existence so that we may visit many places without having to move. Reaping many benefits. A faint blue lotus emerged from his palm. A powerful surge of vitality wrapped around Yun Tianlo like a tidal wave. The blue lotus blossomed. Everyone else held their breaths. What a powerful life force. Healing. What healing technique is this? Nan Gongwei and Feng Yizhi were stunned by this sight. They realized Lu Zhou was trying to save their patriarch. The thousands of disciples stared at the blossoming blue lotus. It spread out from the center of heaven's virtue. The withered and shriveled plants on the Holy Land began to bloom once again. They felt a power surge from this blue lotus. They thought that this was the power of the 9-leaf stage that was shrouding Yun Tianlo's body. The blue lotus was now in full bloom. Boom! After it blossomed, everything fell silent once more. After the dazzling blue radiance faded away, Yun Tianlo was no longer anywhere to be seen in the sky. The glittering starlight descended upon the Holy Land. Lu Zhou frowned. He hovered above the Holy Land, shook his head, and said with a sigh, "It's not easy to pull someone back from death." In other words, he had failed. Even the 4th heavenly writing power coupled with half of the heavenly writing's extraordinary power could not turn back the clock of a person's life or bring a person back to life. This was how life was supposed to be. Lu Zhou had no intention of doing this initially. He had acted on a whim. Even if he was successful in saving Yun Tianlo, he would only be able to add a few more years to Yun Tianlo's life. Alas, he could not defy the heavens. The barrier of heaven's virtue resonated loudly. The disciples were prostrated on the ground. The dead were to be respected. Even Mingxi Yin and little Yuaner, who were usually rather playful, were solemn. Just when Lu Zhou was about to descend, Nan Gongwei fought back his sadness and called out, "Please guide the 3 sects. Old Senior G. Please guide the 3 sects. Old Senior G." Before this, the conflicts between the 3 sects had already escalated. During the 100 years their patriarch had gone into seclusion. The feud of the 3 sects had veered out of control. The Yun sect only had itself to blame for the situation it was in. Although the 3 sects still had a strong foundation, nobody could be certain of surviving in a world full of uncertainties. Especially now that it was proven possible to attain the 9-leaf stage. Everyone below the 9-leaf stage was like insects. Yun Wuji, the sect master of the Yun sect, was dead. The remaining members of the Yun sect were without a leader now. Chaos would certainly ensue. If the patriarch, Yun Tianlo, was still around, things might be able to remain under control. However, even the patriarch had departed for the afterlife. Who would be able to keep them under control? Nan Gongwei and Feng Yizhi were of the same rank. None of them could say they were not biased. Hence, the most proper course of action was to have the evil Sky Pavilion oversee their matters. After all, the patriarch of the evil Sky Pavilion was the first known nine-leaf cultivator. With the support of a nine-leaf cultivator, the three sects would have nothing to worry about. Nan Gongwei was more aware of this than anyone else. Lu Zhou merely proved that it was possible to attain the nine-leaf stage. Nobody knew how perilous or difficult the path to attain the nine-leaf stage was. If they had a nine-leaf cultivator guiding them, their path to the nine-leaf stage would inadvertently be smoother. The two sect masters and the disciples of the three sects looked at Lu Zhou expectantly. Lu Zhou glanced at the dozens of barriers, the disciples in the sky, and the tower on heaven's virtue. Then, he shook his head. The fates of men are dictated by the heavens. The evil Sky Pavilion isn't a charity organization. Nan Gongwei looked disappointed. But, the patriarch, you dare mention Yun Tianlo again? Lu Zhou glanced at them. There was no need for him to finish his sentence. Perhaps, because he was also a patriarch, he could also empathize with Yun Tianlo. The Yun sect's Yun Wuji had tricked his master and denounced his patriarch. If Nan Gongwei and Feng Yizhi had cared more, they could have stopped this from happening. It was just like the siege of Golden Court Mountain by the 10 great sects. If only Yu Zhenghai or Yu Shangrong was there, none of the 10 great sects would have dared to challenge the evil Sky Pavilion. At this juncture, it was meaningless to dwell upon these matters. Lu Zhou turned around and walked toward the cloud-splitting chariot. Little Yuan, Ming Shi Yin, and Leng Luo followed suit. When Hua Wudao saw this, he bowed thrice, expressionlessly, in the direction of heaven's virtue. Elder Hua, can you put in a good word or two for us in front of old Senior Ji? Nan Gongwei pleaded. Hua Wudao's expression remained indifferent. He was still grieving Yun Tianlo's death and had no mood to entertain this request. He only shook his head and said, "You have to bear the consequences of your own actions." Then, he quickly left the area. He no longer had any sentiments toward the three sects. Zhao Yushu shook her head. Similarly, she turned around and left as well. Upon seeing this, Lu Ping, the second elder of the Luo sect, hurried over. Old senior, I'll man the helm for you." When Shan Yungzheng saw Lu Ping's behavior, she was annoyed and embarrassed. She was about to reprimand him when Feng Yizhi said in a deep voice, "Shut your mouth." Feng Yizhi's gaze darkened. Shan Yungzheng was so frightened that she dared not speak up. He was the sect master of the Luo sect. After all, the elders from the Luo sect were, naturally, afraid of him. The others looked on as the evil Sky Pavilion's flying chariot slowly rose into the air. It passed through the barriers and disappeared into the clouds. Then, Feng Yizhi turned to look at Shan Yungzheng and asked, "Shan Yungzheng, are you tired of living?" If Lu Ping wants to flatter the evil Sky Pavilion, let him be. Can you bear the consequences of offending a nine-leaf cultivator? But the evil Sky Pavilion is looking down on us." Shan Yungzheng cried out self-righteously. "It's their freedom to do as they please." Feng Yizhi retorted. Nan Gongwei nodded. To put it more precisely, the evil Sky Pavilion doesn't think much of anyone now. Let's not think too highly of ourselves. This isn't important. Pass down my order. Yes, sect master. Inform everyone in the three sects to stick to this story. The evil Sky Pavilion has personally visited Heaven's Virtue and instructed the three sects in their cultivation. The disciples were taken aback. One of them looked up and asked, "That's it? That will be enough?" Feng Yizhi nodded. Nan Gongwei and Feng Yizhi exchanged a glance and smiled. The core elders near them quickly understood their intentions. All they needed was to send one message to the outside world. The relationship between the evil Sky Pavilion and the three sects was special. They would leave the rest up to the imagination of the outside world. As the saying went, the less one was told, the more mysterious one would seem. With this, who would dare underestimate the three sects? On the cloud-splitting chariot, Lu Ping steered the flying chariot past the final barrier. He did this with ease of familiarity. The flight was smooth and stable. Ming Shi Yin praised him. Not bad. Are you interested in joining the Evil Sky Pavilion? When Lu Ping heard this, he asked excitedly, "Oh really? See, can I?" Currently, was there anyone who did not want to join the Evil Sky Pavilion? No, Ming Shi Yin replied mercilessly. Quote. If this were in the past, Ming Shi Yin might have tried to persuade Lu Zhou to accept Lu Ping. However, the current Evil Sky Pavilion was different. They would only recruit those who were truly strong. Zhao Yushi frowned when she saw this. The Evil Sky Pavilion won't even consider a nascent divinity tribulation realm cultivator. She turned to look at Lu Zhou and discovered him deep in thought. Lu Zhou was staring at the sea of clouds and the mountain ranges. But his mind was clearly elsewhere. Luo, what's her full name? Who is she? What secrets is she keeping? If she was someone capable of making the mediocre Yun Tianlo reach such heights in such a short time, she should have been famous 300 years ago. How was it that nobody had heard of her? Yun Tianlo did not know. Leng Luo did not know. And Hua Wudao did not know as well. When Zhao Yushu heard the word, Luo, she asked, "Are you thinking about that mysterious person? Brother Ji, she's someone who holds the secrets of the 9-leaf, and possibly the 10-leaf stage. Aren't you interested?" "Alas, I have never heard of such a person," Zhao Yushu replied. Upon hearing this, Ming Shi Yin asked, "Isn't it normal for an elite like that to stay hidden from the world? If what Yun Tianlo said is true, this person must possess an extremely profound cultivation base." Leng Luo added, "That's right, a random cultivation method from her turned him into the chief of the 3 sects. Compared to my master, she seems..." Ming Shi Yin swallowed his words halfway. He had almost said that person seemed stronger than his master. However, when he recalled, his master had to instruct 9 disciples while the mysterious woman only taught 1 person, he felt he could not compare the two. Zhao Yushu suddenly turned around and placed her walking stick on the floor. She fell to one knee, lowered her head, and said, "I had no intention of offending the Evil Sky Pavilion before this. I wish to apologize to you, Big Brother. I'll have no complaints, no matter the punishment." Based on how she addressed Lu Zhou as Big Brother, it seemed she was not completely tactless even if her tone was awkward. Lu Zhou looked at her and said, "I can let bygones be bygones." Zhao Yushu was overjoyed to hear this. She was about to thank Lu Zhou when Lu Zhou said, "But I have one condition, whatever it is, Big Brother, just say it. I'll agree to 10 conditions, let alone 1. Zhao Yushu said, "Hear me out." Lu Zhou's expression was extremely gentle. He did not seem as frightening and stern as he did earlier. At this moment, he resembled an amiable old man. "My condition is simple. Join the Evil Sky Pavilion and serve me. Don't agree to this hastily. Think about it carefully. When you've made up your mind, you can tell me your answer." Zhao Yushu was stunned. The others looked at Zhao Yushu as well. Little Yuan'er looked up. She found this tactic familiar. She instinctively said, "Master, should I count down from 10? Here goes." Lu Zhou remained silent, but his eyes were trained on Zhao Yushu, clearly waiting for her answer. Despite his words, it was clear she had no other choice but to accept. Zhao Yushu wondered what was there to think about. It was obvious she had no choice. Meanwhile, Lu Ping, who was standing at the side, looked so envious that it seemed like he was about to cry. He could not blame the Evil Sky Pavilion for not accepting him. How could he compare to Zhao Yushu? He was just like an insignificant sesame seed stuck in the crack on the ground compared to her. After mulling over it for a beat, Zhao Yushu answered, "All right, ding, gained a subordinate. Reward, 1.000 merit points." Lu Zhou had expected this notification. He wondered again if he should mass recruit people on Golden Court Mountain since gaining subordinates earned him merit points. After all, Golden Court Mountain was huge, and its inhabitants were few. It was barely manageable for the female cultivators of Derived Moon Palace to look after the place. However, he was worried that the rewards would be too low to justify the cost of feeding so many people. He could not turn the Evil Sky Pavilion into a charity house just because he wanted to earn merit points. After a moment, Lu Zhou said, "Rise and speak." Zhao Yushu rose to her feet. Leng Luo cupped his hands as a form of greeting. Hua Wudao said, "Greetings, Elder Zhao." Lu Zhou said, "You've been staying in the valley all these years and are unaware of the matters of the world. You should be at the 8-leaf stage. Why did you choose to live in seclusion in the valley?" Zhao Yushu was also a legend of her time. After all, Zhao Yushu shook her head and sighed. "There's no need to revisit the past. Since you're now part of the evil Sky Pavilion, there's something I have to say." Lu Zhou said, "Feel free to speak, big brother. I have no intention of looking for trouble with Great Yan's imperial family. However, the imperial family has challenged the evil Sky Pavilion repeatedly on several occasions. There are many Confucian sect elites living in the divine capital, and many of them hold positions of power. If the time comes, it'd do you good to remain unswayed." Lu Zhou said tonelessly. Zhao Yushu was shocked when she heard Lu Zhou's words. It was common knowledge that many Confucian sect elites were officials. The imperial family had always been the most powerful faction in the empire. It would not have been able to maintain peace and order otherwise. How was the evil Sky Pavilion supposed to fight against the divine capital? She suddenly felt as though she had been tricked to join the evil Sky Pavilion. However, the feeling did not last long when she remembered they had a 9-leaf cultivator in their ranks. Meanwhile, in the evil Sky Pavilion, Yu Shangrong stood before the Cave of Reflection. There were many female cultivators in the vicinity. Pan Zheng and Zhou Jifeng were there as well. They regarded Yu Shangrong with looks of admiration. The Sword Devil's return filled them with excitement and shock. The Sword Devil, whose name struck fear in those who heard it, was still alive. "The rumors in the cultivation world say that you're gravely injured and possibly dead." Second senior brother, Si Wuya's rang from the cave. Yu Shangrong smiled faintly. "They are merely rumors. Pay no heed to them. Do you know that master is already at the 9-leaf stage?" Second senior brother, Si Wuya asked. "I do." His reply was light and calm as well. "Aren't you worried?" "Worried?" Yu Shangrong looked at Si Wuya from the corners of his eyes. "The ones who should be worried are our enemies." Si Wuya was at a loss for words. After a moment, he said, "I'm worried for eldest senior brother." Yu Shangrong frowned slightly and said, "Well, he brought it upon himself. Eldest senior brother, 7th junior brother, I've always thought highly of you. If it weren't out of consideration for you, I would have fought with all my might at Radiant Cloud Forest back then." Yu Shangrong said. Si Wuya shook his head helplessly. He could not understand why his eldest senior brother and second senior brother behaved like nemesis. To his knowledge, there should be no deep-rooted grudge between both of them. They only had minor conflicts. At most, since they were fellow disciples. Was it not better for them to sit down, talk it over, and let bygones be bygones? Despite his thoughts, he said, "You're right, second senior brother, as long as you understand." Yu Shangrong said, "Reflect on yourself in the cave. I know what to do about eldest senior brother." When Si Wuya sensed that Yu Shangrong was about to leave, he hastily called out, "Second senior brother." Yu Shangrong stopped in his tracks. Si Wuya continued to say, "Master has taken a personal letter from me. If you have the chance, I wish for you to read it." "All right." Yu Shangrong's reply was direct and simple. He turned and walked toward the southern pavilion. Zhao Yue appeared nearby. She was clearly anxious. She looked around, and when she saw Yu Shangrong, she hastily walked up to him. "Second senior brother, why are you so anxious?" Yu Shangrong asked, puzzled. "It's an emergency, an important matter." Zhao Yue pointed at the letter in her hand. "There's no need to panic. Master isn't around, but I'm here." Yu Shangrong received the letter from her. It read, "Old Senior. Some good news for you. The cultivation world is entering the Lotus Severing era. The Big Dipper Academy and Core Yang sect collaborated and developed the Lotus Severing survival pills and leaf sprouting pills. The Lotus Severing survival pills can prevent cultivators from being fatally wounded, while the leaf sprouting pills guarantee that the cultivator will be able to sprout leaves again. I'm truly witnessing history in the making here." The content of the letter was simple and direct. The content was, indeed, important. After reading it, Yu Shangrong smiled. He passed the letter back to Zhao Yue. "Second senior brother, Why aren't you worried? Zhao Yue was puzzled. We can afford to be. Yu Shangrong replied. We can't afford it, even for this. For a time, Zhao Yue was speechless. Yu Shangrong seemed to have remembered something as he said, "Fifth junior sister, have you sprouted any leaves? I've just recently entered the nascent divinity realm and formed my 100 tribulations insight avatar." Zhao Yue replied, "Sever your golden lotus as quickly as you can. Don't wait." Yu Shangrong turned around and left after saying this. As Zhao Yue looked at Yu Shangrong's retreating back, she said, "Second senior brother, people die from severing the golden lotuses. You know, I know, yet, you're telling me to sever mine." Yu Shangrong was no longer in sight. Zhao Yue spread her arms in a helpless gesture. Pan Zheng said tentatively, "Miss Fifth, Brother Zhou and I have something we'd like to ask you. We were wondering if..." Zhao Yue did not seem to have heard him. She acted as if she did not see Zhou Jifeng and Pan Zheng when she turned around and made her way to the Evil Sky Pavilion's Great Hall. The two of them felt awkward. Yet, they dared not say anything. "What is it?" A gentle voice rang from the Cave of Reflection. Si Wuya tossed the paper on the table to the side. He rubbed his temples. He decided to solve some simple problems before continuing his research. Pan Zheng and Zhou Jifeng were overjoyed to hear this. The two of them hastily ran toward the Cave of Reflection. Both of them bowed and said in unison, "Greetings, Mr. Seventh. That's all right, just get right into it." Si Wuya did not like to waste time on such trivial and unnecessary etiquette. Pan Zheng scratched his head and said, "Lately, we feel that we're already at the peak of the Divine Court realm. We can vaguely feel that we're on the cusp of a breakthrough. There are more and more rumors of cultivators surviving after severing the golden lotuses. Even the Pavilion Master himself has personally approved of this method. The Pavilion Master has also said that the other method is to not form a golden lotus. We're worried that it won't work." "How do you know it won't work if you haven't tried it yet?" "There's no risk to that method while you'll have to gamble with your life if you sever your golden lotuses. If we think about it in a different way, if it's not possible to sprout leaves directly, shouldn't it be widely spread by now?" Si Wuya said. Pan Zheng smacked his head and said, "You've got a point. This means that someone in the cultivation world is already using this method. Yet, they're deliberately concealing it and secretly improving their strength." "That sounds about right," Si Wuya replied. "You're brilliant, Mr. Seventh. We've never thought about it this way," Pan Zheng said. Si Wuya said, "Don't mention it. Ordinary people should be able to realize this." Pan Zheng and Zhou Jifeng were taken aback. Did Si Wuya just take an indirect jab at them? In any case, don't get your hopes up yet. A cultivator who hasn't sprouted any leaves is still lacking in experience. After all, you're right, Mr. Seventh. Regardless of the era, experience would always be precious. Just when the two of them were about to leave, several female disciples ran toward the Evil Sky Pavilion's Great Hall. "The Pavilion Master is back." Pan Zheng and Zhou Jifeng looked at the skies at the same time. The cloud-splitting chariot sailed forth from the horizons, past the barrier, and slowly landed. The two of them hastily ran toward the Great Hall. Shortly after, inside the Evil Sky Pavilion's Great Hall, Lu Zhou sat on his high seat. He looked at Yu Shangrong who was standing in the Great Hall. Slightly surprised, the others who came back on the flying chariot with him stood at the sides. They were also looking at Yu Shangrong in shock. "Greetings, Master." Yu Shangrong bowed. He appeared nonchalant as though nothing of significance had happened. Lu Zhou nodded and said, "It's good that you're back." Yu Shangrong caught a glimpse of Zhao Yushu from the corners of his eyes. Since he was not familiar with her, he asked with a smile. "This is," Ming Shi Yin said, "second senior brother. This is the Evil Sky Pavilion's new elder, Senior Zhao Yushu. She's a cultivation genius from the Confucian sect 500 years ago." Yu Shangrong did not seem surprised. Perhaps, he was already used to facing elites in the past and had grown numb to it. He said perfunctorily, "Well met." Zhao Yushu studied Yu Shangrong. Whether it was his mannerism or attitude, she felt that he was much more powerful than some of her previous disciples. In the end, she replied, "Same here." Leng Luo frowned. "What happened, Mr. Second? I trust that you've been well since our last meeting." "See, This is how you make a proper greeting. Leng Luo knew how to behave in such situations. He bowed respectfully with his hands in front of him. I have, Yu Shangrong replied. Zhao Yushu disapproved of this. She was confused as to why Leng Luo was behaving so humbly. After all, Leng Luo was also a legendary figure in the past. Leng Luo walked to Zhao Yushu's side and said in a hushed tone. The Evil Sky Pavilion's Mr. Second is a peak 8-leaf cultivator. Zhao Yushu's heart thumped in her chest. Her turbid eyes widened in shock. Then, she quickly greeted Yu Shangrong again. It's not my intention to be rude. Yu Shangrong did not seem to mind it at all. He waved his hand and said, There's no need to trouble yourself. Elder, it's only proper for me to greet you. There's no need for that. Zhao Yushu gripped her walking stick tightly. She nearly lost her footing. She was new here. She made up her mind to avoid this Mr. Second if they met in the future. Lu Zhou stood up and descended the steps with his hands on his back. The others stood to attention immediately. Lu Zhou looked at Yu Shangrong and said, Show me your avatar. Before this, he was worried about Yu Shangrong's safety after he severed his golden lotus. Now that Yu Shangrong had safely returned, it was only natural for him to want to see what an avatar without a golden lotus would look like. The others were puzzled. They did not know what Lu Zhou intends to do. Was he trying to intimidate the newcomer? All right, Yu Shangrong did not try to hide. He raised his palm with a faint smile on his face. A miniature shining golden avatar hovered above his palm. Everyone's attention was focused on the miniature golden avatar above Yu Shangrong's palm. There was nothing under its feet. There was no golden lotus. Only 3 leaves could be seen slowly spinning around the avatar. There's no golden lotus. 3-leaf. With no golden lotus. Zhao Yushu's turbid eyes were widened when she saw the leaves. She frowned. Didn't Leng Luo say he's a peak 8-leaf cultivator? Why does he only have 3 leaves? She was slightly annoyed. However, she was taken aback when she saw there was no golden lotus under the avatar. She was confused. What was happening? She could only blame herself for living in seclusion for too long. She knew nothing about the current affairs in the outside world. She did not know about Yu Shangrong, the 9 disciples, or how severing one's golden lotus was all the hype in the cultivation world at this moment. Leng Luo was again the first to cup his fists and bow. I'm impressed. Extremely so. How could he not be impressed? When the method of severing the golden lotus was first proposed, those brave enough to attempt it were few and far between. There were even fewer who were willing to give up on their peak 8-leaf status and begin again. For those who survived, they numbered even less. Most shockingly was Yu Shangrong had already sprouted 3 leaves. Who would dare say that Yu Shangrong was weak? Hua Woodao bowed. A 3-leaf cultivator without a golden lotus. There's no doubt about it. Mr. Second, you're the first in the cultivation world. Mingshi Yin gave a thumbs up. He could not help but offer his praise. You're amazing, second senior brother. Yu Shangrong smiled and said, This is nothing. With Master here, I don't dare claim that I'm the first. The others seemed to recall something at this moment. Lu Zhou had already attained the 9-leaf stage. Lu Zhou's expression remained unchanged. He stroked his beard as he fell deep into thought. I'd like to be at the 9-leaf stage as well. Alas, my strength doesn't permit me to do that. In any case, when he learned of his second disciple's feat, his great sorrow turned into joy. He knew that he was witnessing history unfolding. At this moment, Zhao Yue hurried into the great hall. She bowed at everyone and presented the letter in her hand. Master, a letter from Jiang Ijian. Second senior brother has read one of them. There's a new one. Lu Zhou received the letter and read it. Something stirred in his heart. The speed of improvement of the cultivation world had exceeded his expectations. The lotus-severing survival pill and the leaf-sprouting pill. Lu Zhou was puzzled. Master, when this news spread out, the Big Dipper Academy and Core Yang sect have become the core of the cultivation world. The nascent divinity tribulation realm cultivators of the major sects are now severing the golden lotuses and cultivating without them. The others in the Great Hall understood Zhao Yue's meaning. Mingshi Yin hastily said, Master, if that's the case, we can't be left behind. We'll have to move quickly. Lu Zhou glanced at Mingshi Yin and said, We'll start with the elders. Then, Leng Luo and Hua Woodao bowed. We'll follow your arrangements. Pavilion Master. Zhao Yushu seemed to be in a daze. It took her a while before she bowed and said, I'll follow your arrangements, big brother. Ming Shi Yin said, in that case, I'll head over to the Koyang sect and request for some survival pills. However, Yu Shangrong said, leave this to me. Second senior brother, you've just severed your lotus. This is dangerous. Although Yu Shangrong was ahead of the others for having sprouted 3 leaves after severing his lotus, the 3-leaf stage was still too weak. Yu Shangrong smiled and said, there's no need to worry. I've met the sect master of the Koyang sect several times before. Several times? What if you run into a conflict? Yu Shangrong turned around and patted Ming Shi Yin on the shoulder. With my sword in hand. It's enough. After saying this, he bowed at Lu Zhou. In truth, Lu Zhou was worried about Yu Shangrong's current condition as well. There was no guarantee that Yu Shangrong would not run into some elite in the outside world. Yu Shangrong was used to being an 8-leaf cultivator and had not adjusted to his new state yet. Kindly give the order, Master, Yu Shangrong said softly. Are you confident? I, Yu Shangrong, have never done anything that I'm not confident about. All right, Lu Zhou waved his hand and called out softly. Buy-in. A deep growl rang from outside the Great Hall. Without having to look, the others knew that Bayan had landed obediently outside the Great Hall. Bring Bayan with you for this mission. If there's a threat to your life, it'll be able to help you. Lu Zhou knew if he had sent another person to help Yu Shangrong, Yu Shangrong would have refused. Thank you, Master, Yu Shangrong said. Go, then. Yu Shangrong turned around and left. Although he was only a 3-leaf sword devil at the moment, his 8-leaf experience and skills were more than enough for him to deal with a 5-leaf cultivator. Moreover, who would dare touch him when he had the support of the evil Sky Pavilion? Moreover, it was well known he could kill a nascent divinity cultivator with his bare hands. However, Lu Zhou knew nothing was for certain in the world. They saw Yu Shangrong off. At this moment, Lu Zhou glanced at the mission menu on the system dashboard. As he expected, Yu Shangrong's mission of obtaining the survival pill appeared. The reward was 10.000 merit points. 10.000 merit points. Looks like this isn't an easy mission. Ming Shi Yin bowed and said, Master, I'm still worried about second senior brother. To be safe, go help him from the shadows. Lu Zhou calmly, however, knowing your second senior brother, it's best that you don't let him discover your presence. Go. Understood. I'll protect second senior brother. If it were not for the 10.000 merit points, Lu Zhou would not have sent Ming Shi Yin as reinforcement. It was much safer to have Ming Shi Yin help Yu Shangrong. Zhao Yushu could not stand this any longer. She asked, Big brother, this survival pill and whatnot, and the lack of a golden lotus. What does all of these mean? Leng Luo waved his hand and said, Elder Zhao, I'll tell you about it outside. You've been away from the world for too long. Thank you, Elder Leng. I feel ashamed. Zhao Yushu followed Leng Luo out of the Great Hall. Zhao Yushu's pride seemed to have vanished now. A newcomer should have to act like a newcomer. Xiao Yue, Lu Zhou said. Yes, Master. Send word to Jiang Ijian and the Prince of Qi, Qin Jun. Tell them to use their resources to find a woman with the surname Luo. This woman appeared 300 years ago, and she helped Yun Tianlo to become the chief of the 3 sects. Lu Zhou said. Xiao Yue went to work at once after she replied. Yes, Master. After Xiao Yue left, Si Wuya's figure appeared in Lu Zhou's mind. Searching for a person in that manner was like finding a needle in a haystack. If he had the help of that rascal's darknet, perhaps, he would have a better chance of finding that person. Meanwhile, the survival created by the Big Dipper Academy and Koyang sect shook the cultivation world. Hordes of cultivators swarmed toward the 2 sects. They were willing to trade the survival pills for a handsome amount of gold and treasures. The pill was only just recently created, and it did not have a proper name yet. However, with the word survival tagged to it, news of it spread like a wildfire. There were many lotus-severing survival pills, but it was difficult to get one's hands on the leaf-sprouting pills. Inside Evergreen Palace in the Imperial City, Divine Capital, The new attendant walked in tentatively with something in his hands. Your Majesty, here is a survival pill and 5 leaf sprouting pills sent by the Big Dipper Academy. The president of the Big Dipper Academy says that the leaf sprouting pills are extremely precious. The combined efforts of their 2 sects produced 1.200 survival pills and 8 leaf sprouting pills. 5 of them are here. Lu Gu grunted and said, if it weren't for the lotus severing experiment in the Imperial City, they would never be able to produce the survival pill. They should be thankful that I only took 5 pills from them. As expected of your brilliance, Your Majesty, the attendant said. President Zhou said that the leaf sprouting pills have potent efficacy, but it can guarantee that one will sprout leaves. Lu Gu remained expressionless. He eyed the platter in the attendant's hand coldly and said, pills are external aids. After all, the survival pill is more. The world is changing. There are internal troubles and external aggression. The Imperial Guards must not sever the golden lotuses without my decree. Understood. Also, pass this message on. Order General Ping Qian, commander of the Imperial Guard in the Northern Imperial City, to guard the Big Dipper Academy with his soldiers. The pills are precious, and I hope that President Zhou will understand what I'm trying to do. Said Lu Gu. Understood. The attendant lowered the platter on the table and retreated from the palace respectfully. On the surface, it seemed that Lu Gu wanted to protect the Big Dipper Academy. However, in truth, he was trying to prevent the pills from being widely spread in the cultivation world. The second 9-leaf cultivator had to come from the divine capital. At the very least, Lu Gu picked up a survival pill from the platter and mumbled. 9-leaf. GT Andao, how did he do it? How can I be inferior to him? Ever since Lu Gu heard about the evil Sky Pavilion's GT Andao attaining the 9-leaf stage, he could hardly eat or sleep well. He had pressured the Big Dipper Academy to develop the pills as quickly as possible. Now that the pills were completed, he saw hope again. So long as I remain within the 10-terminal formation, old villain Ji and Yu Zhenghai can do nothing against me. Without hesitation, Lu Gu tossed the pill into his mouth. The pill melted. He immediately felt as though his Danshan's sea of qi was set aflame. Lu Gu raised his right hand and said in a deep voice, Magistrate brush. Come. A brush hanging above the study table in the distance burst shone with golden radiance and flew into his hand with a buzz. He placed his left hand before his Danshan sea of qi. Whiz! A miniature 8-leaf avatar appeared before his eyes. The 8 dazzling and succulent leaves kept spinning around. However, Lu Gu did not seem to hesitate. He steeled his heart and swung his arm. A fan-shaped energy shot out from his magistrate brush. The magistrate brush that shone with golden radiance dimmed at once. Lu Gu let go, and the magistrate brush returned to the inkstone. The shining golden lotus fell to the floor after it was severed. Then, it vanished. Only the avatar remained. Just like the experiments, the 8 leaves began to fade away. 7-leaf, 6-leaf. His primal qi scattered. Everything had returned to square one. Lu Gu felt a scorching sensation in his Danshan sea of qi. The power urged his Danshan sea of qi to withdraw the remaining avatar. The avatar returned to his body. Lu Gu's face broke out in sweat. He sat down with his legs crossed. The pill was taking effect, and this comforted him. At long last, the years of tireless attempts had finally borne fruit. His chaotic primal qi was gradually stabilizing. A faint smile appeared on his face as he said, Men. Another attendant entered. Your Majesty, I'll be cultivating in seclusion from this day onward. Understood. This meant Lu Gu would not be stepped forward unless it was something extremely important. The attendant who served the emperor was not surprised. The emperor had rarely shown an interest in governance to begin with. Usually, it was delegated to the prime minister or the civil and military officials. In Lu Gu's opinion, all he needed was to maintain a hold on the Imperial Guards and the commander-in-chief of the 3 armies to defend the divine capital. With this, he would never be defeated. Now that a 9-leaf cultivator had emerged in the world, he had to attain the 9-leaf stage as quickly as possible. Otherwise, the entire divine capital would fall into another person's hands sooner or later. Even if there were no 9-leaf cultivators from the evil Sky Pavilion, the method of severing the golden lotus would certainly enable the other sects to improve their strength. As the monarch of an empire, he had to stand at the peak, no matter what. Inside the eastern pavilion of the Evil Sky Pavilion, after confirming that there was no change in the old parchment drawing, Lu Zhou returned to the rush cushion and sat down with his legs crossed. At the same time, he glanced at the system dashboard. Name: Lu Zhou. Race: human. Cultivation base: nascent divinity tribulation realm. Dao primal. Merit points: 21.000. Avatar: 1 leaf 100 tribulations insight. Remaining life: 12.750 days. Item: Deadly Strike card X2. Critical Block card X62. Passive: Binding Cage card X4. Wizard: Critical Heal card X2. Strengthened Binding Cage card X2. Strengthened Critical Heal card X2. Thunderblast X1. Disguise card X4. Reversal card X53. Weapon: Unnamed. Life Cutter. Jade Horsetail Whisk. Peacock Plume. Cultivation Method: 3 scrolls of heavenly writing. The trip to the 3 sects gave him more than 20.000 merit points. This surprised Lu Zhou. Naturally, most of the merit points came from the worshipping of the 3 sects' disciples. Unfortunately, there were conditions to earning merit points from being worshipped. Otherwise, he would have gone around and threatened the other major sects to kowtow to himself. Lu Zhou cleared his mind. Without holding back, he did 10 consecutive lucky draws and was thanked 10 times. Then, he meditated on the heavenly writing scrolls. Although the lack of reward from the lucky draws stung, he had already gotten used to it. He noticed that he now had 53 reversal cards. According to the outside world's understanding of the 9-leaf stage, there should be no issues if he were to prolong his life slightly. He did not hesitate and used 10 reversal cards. The vitality in the surroundings gathered around him. Swoosh! A strong gale appeared, and the vitality surged. Lu Zhou felt that there were more effects this time around. It felt more chaotic compared to his previous experiences. When the vitality entered his wizened body, there was some slight agitation and resistance, but it melted into his body soon enough. He looked at his remaining life on the menu. Remaining life: 16.750 days. Every card added 400 days. Was that the reason for the agitation and resistance? The number of added days exceeded Lu Zhou's expectations. If this was the pattern, he would do well to stock up on the reversal cards in the future. Stocking up on cards could change his life. Their values appreciated over time. However, he did not dwell on this for too long before closing his eyes and meditating on the heavenly writing scrolls. On the plaza in front of the southern pavilion, Leng Luo recounted the main events that occurred recently in the cultivation world to Zhao Yushu. Zhao Yushu was suitably shocked. That man who seems like a humble gentleman is the current sword path elite. The sword devil. Yes. There's no need to be overly worried. Mr. Second is an honest and easygoing man. He's not a narrow-minded character. Leng Luo said, when I was still living in seclusion in the valley, I learned some bits of information from the mouths of the Zhenqing branch disciples. I've heard about the Sword Devil before. The very mention of his name shocks the heavens. The hit list of the cultivation world was made by him. He's the reason why the cultivation world was restless. Zhao Yushu turned to face Leng Luo and said, "Thank you for telling me this. Elder Leng, you're welcome." At this moment, the intense surge of primal qi outside the eastern pavilion drew their attention. Pay no heed to it. Whatever you do not go to the eastern pavilion, Leng Luo said at once after saying this. He turned and left. Zhao Yushu nodded as she looked in the direction of the eastern pavilion. Curiosity kills the cat. This must be something cultivated by 9-leaf cultivators. It's best to avoid that place for now. At noon, the next day, the Koyang sect on Koyang Mountain. Clouds of smoke rose from the Heaven Memorial Plaza. A faint blue barrier enveloped the entire Koyang Mountain. Dozens of disciples formed a square formation on the plaza as they practiced their swordplay. At this moment, a black dot appeared in the faraway skies. It was moving toward them. Enemy incoming. Prepare for battle. The Koyang sect disciples drew their swords and looked toward the skies. Usually, anyone who came without warning and from another direction aside from the base of the mountain bore ill intentions. The Koryang sect knew this was a tense and chaotic time as well. Hence, the entire Koryang mountain was guarded on all sides. After the survival pill was made public, they had more visiting cultivators than they could count, if they had not employed the help of the elites from the Penblai sect. The Koryang sect would have been plundered a long time ago. Just because they were skilled in refining pills, it did not mean that they possessed profound cultivation bases. Summon the seniors from the Penblai sect here. Understood. As they spoke, the black spot was already outside Koryang sect's barrier. From this distance, the Koryang sect disciples could not see the face of the newcomer. However, anyone who could come to Koryang Mountain should not be underestimated. Who goes there? One of the disciples asked domineeringly as he pointed his sword at the newcomer. I'm Yu Shangrong. Yu Shangrong answered honestly. As soon as Yu Shanrong revealed his name, the disciples on Koryang Mountain were shocked speechless. How many times have someone impersonated an evil Sky Pavilion disciple? Someone mumbled. Let's deal with him politely. Just in case, so long as we refuse to give him our pills, he won't be able to get what he wants. The others nodded. Yu Shangrong observed the barrier. If he had his 8-leaf cultivation base, he could have forced his way through a barrier like this with the power of his longevity sword and the runes. The problem was, he was only at the 3-leaf stage now. Comrade, how are you going to prove your identity? The disciple in the lead was smart. With this, the conversation could go either way. Wu Daong, the sect master of the Koryang sect, can verify my identity. If I didn't witness his dedication to refining pills years ago, his name would have been on my hit list as well. Yu Shangrong dismounted from Bayan and hovered in the air. He said in a casual tone, I bear no ill will. Everything that I said is meant in kindness. The sword devil should not be crossed. Yu Shangrong was trying his best to get what he wanted without having to resort to force. After all, it was unlikely for him to be able to upend the Koryang sect with his 3-leaf nascent divinity tribulation realm. You don't look like him, one of the disciples said. Is that so? Zing. The longevity sword was unsheathed. The scarlet sword danced in the air. Bam! The longevity sword collided with the barrier. A huge ripple spread across the barrier. The disciples were startled into jumping. Shaken. A scarlet sword. At this moment, a man dressed in a robe came running from the distance. Impudent fools. How dare you behave rudely toward Mr. Second? Do you have a death wish? The disciples turned around and saw the man bowing and running at the same time. Elder Shen. When the other disciples saw him, they bowed. Elder Shen. Elder Shen waved his hand. He waded through the crowd and ran to the edge of the barrier. When he was at the spot closest to Yu Shangrong, he looked up carefully before his eyes widened. Then, he said reverently, It's the evil Sky Pavilion's Mr. Second. Welcome, welcome. Upon hearing these words, the disciples shuddered. All of them threw their swords aside and fell to their knees without a word. Greetings, Mr. Second. Yu Shangrong was puzzled. He looked at the man. He had no recollection of him. Moreover, he preferred to act alone and challenge elites wherever he went. It was impossible for him to make friends. How could someone recognize him? Nevertheless, he decided to go with the flow. It was a good thing for someone else to recognize him. This saved him some trouble. He descended slowly. Elder Shen opened a path through the barrier and made an inviting gesture. Yu Shangrong glanced at him before stepping through the barrier. He asked, How should I address you? My friend. Elder Shen kept his back bent as he said, I'm Shen Langshu. I've met old Senior Ji once during the Battle of Liang Province. This man was none other than the person on top of the white list. Shen Langshu. After the incident, he stopped dabbling in human trafficking. After recovering his cultivation base with sable magnolias, he came to the Koryang sect and was appointed as an elder. He was now wiser from his experience. Ji Tiandao was the person Shen Langshu worshipped the most. Having made the mistake of looking down on Ji Tiandao before, he did everything in his power to learn about the characteristics of the evil Sky Pavilion's 9 disciples. As he expected, it came in handy now. This was especially true for Ji Tiandao. Shen Langshu was confident that he would be able to recognize him immediately should they meet again. He would not make the same mistake twice. That's good. Yu Shangrong nodded. When the others heard this, They stepped backward with a shocked expression on their faces. It was as though they were facing a great enemy. Shen Lanshu swept his gaze past the disciples. He cleared his throat and reprimanded them. I'll teach all of you a lesson later for disrespecting Mr. Second. The disciples remained kneeling. They dared not move. Shen Lanshu felt awkward as he said, My apologies. These disciples don't know how to behave. I feel ashamed on their behalf. It's all right. What brings you here, Mr. Second? Shen Lanshu asked. In truth, he could already guess Yu Shangrung's purpose for coming here. However, the evil Sky Pavilion was known to act unconventionally. I heard that the Core Yang sect has lotus-severing survival pills. Yu Shangrong said. Shen Lanshu expected as much. He immediately flashed a smile and said, Men. Why yes, Elder Shen, one of the Core Yang sect disciples said in a trembling voice. Bring 10 survival pills over and give them to Mr. Second. Shen Lanshu said. Yes, yes. The disciple was about to turn and leave when Yu Shangrong waved his hand and said. It's best if you can give me 100. Shen Lanshu. Quote. Currently, the supply of survival pills could not meet the demand. 100 pills were not a small number. He winced as he said, Mr. Second, why don't we have a cup of tea and talk about this? I decline. I'm in a hurry. Yu Shangrung's expression remained calm. In that case, kindly wait here as I fetch the survival pills for you. Shen Lanshu did not dare to dally. He turned around and went to the pill refining room. Yu Shangrong looked up at Bayan who was hovering nearby. He nodded. Bayan landed beside him. The disciples had never seen a mount like it before. They retreated further out of fright. Shortly after, Shen Lanshu hurried back with 100 survival pills. He presented them reverently with both hands to Yu Shangrong. Mr. Second, 100 survival pills. As requested, I heard that the Core Yang sect has leaf-sprouting pills as well. Yu Shangrong said with a straight face. Shen Lanshu was already feeling the pinch from the previous request. When he heard Yu Shangrong mentioning the leaf-sprouting pills, he pulled a long face and said, Mr. Second, the survival pill is all we have. The leaf-sprouting pills are more precious and are extremely difficult to refine. Only the Big Dipper Academy is capable of refining them. Yu Shangrong nodded when he heard this. He received the 100 survival pills and brought him to his nose before he took a whiff. A unique medicinal scent wafted into his nose. Mr. Second, are you going to sever your lotus? Shen Lanshu asked in a hushed voice after making sure the others were out of earshot. Shen Lanshu said furtively, Mr. Second, take the pill before severing your lotus. And when you do so, you must be quick, decisive, and precise. Yu Shangrong glanced at Shen Lanshu and asked, What else? Shen Lanshu glanced at the disciples behind him again, and he pointed at the edge of the barrier. Yu Shangrong understood Shen Lanshu's meaning and followed Shen Lanshu. Shen Lanshu lowered his voice as though he was a thief and said, If you have the leaf-sprouting pills, you may consume them during the earlier stages and improve your strength as soon as possible. The leaf-sprouting pills aren't much use in the later stages. The effects will also be diminished when the user's cultivation base has improved. Also, if the improvement is too quick, the foundation will be unstable. Yu Shangrong nodded. That sounds logical. Mr. Second, when you return, can you put in a good word or two for me in front of old Senior G? I'll be eternally grateful. Shen Lanshu bowed. That can be arranged. Yu Shangrong put the survival pills away. Then, he tapped the ground with the tips of his feet and flew toward Bayan. Safe journey, Mr. Second. Yu Shangrong sat atop Bayan and flew down Core Yang Mountain. Shen Lanshu turned around at once and ran toward Core Yang sect's meeting hall. He reached his destination soon enough. He opened the doors and entered the hall. Sect Master Wu, he has left. From a corner, Wu Daong walked out with a slight tremble. He wiped the sweat from his face and stole a glance at the skies. After making sure that Yu Shangrong was not there, he finally spoke. Thank the heavens that you showed up just in time. I was scared out of my wits. Don't fret, Sect Master. Mr. Second wasn't hostile. Shen Lanshu replied. In any case, the Core Yang sect can't afford to cross the Sword Devil. Let alone the evil Sky Pavilion. Wu Daong said. Meanwhile, Lu Zhou opened his eyes after meditating on the heavenly writing scrolls for a night. He gauged his extraordinary power. He had 1/5 of his full capacity. As expected, if he proceeded at this pace, all he needed was 5 days to completely replenish his extraordinary power. Indeed, his meditating speed had increased. What would the 5th heavenly writing power be like? Lu Zhou muttered to himself. He stood up and looked at the old parchment drawing. Apart from Great Yan's lands, the other parts of the drawing were still a blur. There was nothing there. Lu Zhou decided to attempt the lucky draws to change the pace of things. He sat down. Lucky draw. Ding. Spent 50 merit points. Spent 54 luck points. Obtained appearance alteration card X5. Appearance alteration card. Enables you to change your appearance. Lasts for 5 days per use. Appearance alteration card. Lu Zhou was puzzled when he saw the new item card. Was the system on a mission to troll him right now? Why would it give out a useless card such as this one? What use would he have for the appearance alteration card? Lu Zhou's current appearance was much different compared to when he just recently transmigrated here. This latest card was more useless than the last. At this moment, Zhao Yue's voice rang from outside the pavilion. Master, Si Wuya requests an audience. What is it? He says that he remembers something about the memory crystal. Bring him here. Yes, Master.